to another episode of the Dear Fathers podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Alex, also the co-founder here at Dear Fathers, which is the premier media platform dedicated to telling stories of Black fathers while providing resources for Black men. I'm excited about our guest today. He's someone who's played a major role in our culture through his work. We've heard about him as a father and his journey, but I'm looking forward to learning more about that journey today and sharing it with the Dear Fathers audience. So let's get right into it, man. I'd like to welcome legendary comedian, actor, host, and author, and also amazing father, Rickey Smiley. Welcome to the Dear Fathers podcast today, man. How you feeling today, Unc?
Man, I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. Just finished my morning show, so we all up working this morning. So yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. And I say Unc for two reasons, man. Obviously, you're an OG in the game, but
Yeah.
I've also kind of, witnessed, and we all have witnessed just everything you've done for others and how you show up as a positive male figure, for your community. And I read this story about you when you were younger, at age 15. You were like in the community cooking for the other kids because their parents weren't around, because their parents were on drugs and things of that nature, just not present. So tell us more about like your upbringing and what instilled those traits in you at such a young age.
Yeah, I'm a kid. I'm not a kid. I'm a man of wonderful grandparents. My grandparents was everything, and I watched my grandparents take care of the community and do things for people, and people that didn't have, and this, that, and the other. So it just in me. That's that Christian, old-fashioned Alabama Christian upbringing. Doing the right thing when you see that there's a need to step up to the plate and try to do whatever you can to help people. So yeah, it started out, you 15, 16 years old, you in high school and you see kids outside an apartment complex and they having eight. So you start looking in the freezer, making hot dogs and sandwiches for the kids. And it just became a ministry, man. I forgot, you reminded me of something that I had actually forgot about. Cooking, making sandwiches and making hot dogs. And then I was working at Showbiz Pizza, which is now Chuck E. Cheese. I remember taking kids to work with me just where they could go and play because they never seen anything like that. Well, I would go in the back and work and make pizza, and I would sneak them some food and stuff like that, man. And now that those young kids are like in their late 30s, early 40s, and they still talk about it. And I still meet up with some of those men that were kids, uh, and over lunch or dinner and stuff, and they still talk about all those times. But I had actually forgot about that making food, man. I used to do that.
I'm glad I can remind you of that, man. I saw that story and that touched my heart because that just shows you, your character at a young age and just your just want for the community to be better and to be there for your community as you still are doing to this day. So, fast forward, to where you are now. I believe you got your start like in the entertainment industry in the late 80s, early 90s. So like that's 35 years in the game. Doing
Yeah.
anything that long at a high level like you do, it shows, your dedication, but also shows the level of greatness that you have in terms of your career. Like what has just been that key pillar for you to last so long, in the entertainment industry and being great at what you do for so long?
Just doing it the right way, doing good business, making good business decisions, going to bed at night, having a lot of discipline and a lot of structure, getting up on time, showing up to your appointments, doing whatever you have to do, and just be serious about what you do, whether it's writing, whether it's performing, whether it's doing radio, recording stuff, doing your Zoom calls, and just everything that keep and using your talent, making sure that you funny and relevant, so it's a healthy balance,
Yeah.
but you have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with you, man. I think I always say this to my friends, like anything you do, whether a big role, small role, whatever you're like just immersing yourself in, to like always put forth that effort to do it at a high level. And I wonder with you, like, having such a long career, a busy career, I'm pretty sure you've been on the road a lot, you just always have a lot going on, but you also have been a father throughout that time period as well. How were you able to juggle just being who you are in the entertainment industry while also being a dad, especially in the younger years, like when your kids were younger? How did you juggle kind of the two?
Oh man, a lot of times I took my kids with me. I would turn my dressing room into a whole playroom. You
Mm-hmm.
know, have somebody to go buy some toys and games and put it in the dressing room while I go on stage and perform, especially those comedy club nights when you're there for hours and hours, or whatever. I would have to, get my son, and I never missed a visitation weekend when I was on visitation before I gained custody, whatever. If I couldn't pick him up, I made sure he was picked up and flown, driven, or whatever. I was dedicated to my time, with my son, especially my oldest son, the one I lost, or whatever. It was everything. It meant everything to me. I took it serious, and I just did what I had to do in order to provide for my kids. No different from anybody going off to Iraq or Afghanistan for the military to put money in their pocket
Mm-hmm.
so they can provide for their family. So
Yeah.
that was really, really important to me,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that he had what he needed.
Yeah. No, I definitely, appreciate you sharing that. And even to that point, in terms of just how you showed up as a father throughout that process, you lost your father at a young age. At the age of
Yes.
6, I believe, your father was murdered. Tell us more about that. Like, how did that impact you? Did that impact you right away? Did it impact you more so when you got a little bit older? And also,
Yeah.
how did that experience help you show up today as a man and as the father you are?
Well, sometimes, man, you have to go through what you have to go through in order to become better because I know how it felt not to have a father. And I have to make sure that my son did not experience that, or nephews or kids in the community, in the neighborhood, even if I can be their father, just to be something positive to them. Uh, not having a father was a huge effect, but I did have my grandfather. My grandfather had 4 sons. I have all uncles. My mama had 4 brothers. Okay, I have all uncles. So I had so many father figures. That's why I'm always on the air shouting out Little League football coaches, Little League baseball coaches, Little League basketball coaches, principals, deacons in the church. So many people had to step up, so many men had to step up for younger people that just don't have father figures, and a lot of us, that's who we, it's almost like God restores. One thing about the God that we serve, man, he definitely restores. You might not have a father, but he'll send a father figure, and he'll always make sure you have what you need, as far as a man is concerned. I remember my toughness came from Little League football. Played Little League football my whole life. So that the discipline, the hustling, the toughness, Coach Holmes and Coach Osley and doing those duck walks, getting in the bull ring, running the Oklahoma drills, all that stuff out there, taking a beating out there on that little football field. It just really created. I'm the reason. That's why I'm who I am. That damn football field, and them hot ass practices with them nets in your face mask. That
That'll build some
that
character,
was,
right?
huh?
I said that'll build some character, right?
It built a lot of characters, the push-ups, the running and the suicide and basketball practice and all that. You know what the suicides are.
Oh yeah, yeah. I played basketball, so suicides was yeah.
So
Yeah, I
so
know.
all of that stuff, man. Sports, being in the band, playing instruments, it just instills so much discipline and structure and teamwork,
Yeah,
um, or whatever. And I just thank all of my coaches, man. Even though I didn't have a father, man, my granddad, my uncles, everybody just played a role and just became one big person. So it's
yeah.
almost like I had a father, but I didn't have a father, but at the same time, I actually did. I had several.
Yeah, I love to hear that, man. And like I told you before we started recording, that I grew up without my pops. But what's crazy is he lived basically down the street from me, but
That's
I never I never really saw him. It's so crazy. But to that point that you're making, like my mom's brother, I had my uncle. I played basketball, so coaches. So I would always find myself just kind of looking at what they were doing to just kind of get a glimpse of like what it's like to be a man. And like I said, as I got older, just having those thoughts of, who I wanted to be as a father.
Yeah,
So I appreciate you for sharing that, because those
yeah,
things do help shape you, even if you don't have a
yeah.
dad in your home. And to that point, my dad was down the street and he ain't even, think
Let
to
me,
pull up on me sometimes.
let me tell you something, man. I tell you, man, there are some men that don't have anything that are good fathers to their kids. Hell, it don't cost no money to take your kids to the park or throw a ball or go for a walk. That stuff costs nothing.
Mhm.
I find it interesting that a damn giraffe, a gorilla, a elephant, a rhinoceros,
Mhm.
a freaking tiger is not educated, can't read, can't write, can't drive a car, but have the instinct and the intuition to take care of their young. And
Mhm.
what does that say about you? And you can read, write, drive, know right from wrong, God in your life, all of this stuff. And you have a child that come from your body that most of the time look just like you, and you don't have nothing to do with it. And that's bad. But the good news about all of that is there's just a small stigma, because the only thing you see on social media now is men stepping up to the plate. Only thing you see now is kids with their dads with the beards, dads doing ballet, dads at basketball practice. Is dad, dad, dad. I haven't heard a deadbeat dad in over 10 years. Well, I hate it for your situation
Yeah,
and my situation. But when I look at my phone and I'm scrolling, all I'm seeing is dads, and
yeah.
it ain't stepping up to the plate or whatever. I just appreciate the stigma that there are a lot of good dads out here, and they're showing more dads being active in their kids' life. I just wish the courts would catch up to that and get rid of the stigma that they have and
Yeah.
the assumption that every time a man walks in that courtroom, he's a deadbeat dad. Because there's a lot of good dads out here, but always not treated fair in the court system.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And to your point, just about the stigma and the narrative, you've been following us on Instagram for a minute, so we appreciate you for tapping into our platform, because that's why we started, is to be a part of changing that narrative and what fatherhood looks like, especially in the Black community. And I just want to ask you, about your kids. In this instance, your daughter. She was in a very like crazy accident. I think it was in 2020 where she was shot. She survived, but she was shot while I think celebrating her birthday in Houston. How's she doing now?
My daughter's good. My daughter moved to Denver, Colorado. That's Aaron. My daughter graduated from Baylor University. She moved to Denver, Colorado. She's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She's a speech pathologist.
Okay.
And so she's on her grind and doing her thing. I'm really, really proud of her. That was traumatizing for her. It still is. She has PTSD. 4th of July, New Year's,
Oh.
always bad for her. Certain movies she can't watch. Just leaving Whataburger at the light, minding her own business, and some guys outside of shooting at each other, and she got hit twice. And
Mm.
that was traumatizing. That was traumatizing for me. That was really traumatizing for me. It almost like felt the same, when my son died or whatever. It just caused me so much, like that same feeling of butterflies in your stomach or whatever. And that's something that I talked about, but I really didn't talk about, because I
Mm.
remember that was during COVID, and when she got shot, I couldn't even get a flight to Houston because Birmingham have direct flights to Houston. I had to fly to Dallas Fort Worth International Airport, drive to Love Field, and get on Southwest Airlines and fly from Love Field to Houston Hobby Airport, only to get to the hospital and have to sit outside in the
Mm.
heat at the park across the street from the trauma center because we couldn't go in the hospital.
Oh, that's crazy.
That was crazy. The only time I saw my daughter when they was bringing her out of that hospital to take her to another hospital, and we were able to greet her as they brought her out. Her
Mm.
mom and I was sitting outside sweating, and thank God for Congresswoman, rest in peace, Sheila Jackson Lee made a phone call and we were able uh, to get upstairs to the room to see my daughter. But she's well. She's doing her thing. She's making money, and she's all the way out there in Denver. And I'm definitely proud of her. That's Aaron.
No, I remember when that happened, man. I was so taken back just hearing that story. And as a parent, I can't imagine how you feel that this kid that you raised that, came from you just have something so traumatic happen and then you having to travel, man. I couldn't imagine just those feelings. And, you
And
even,
then graduated college after losing her brother.
mm,
Graduated right after that. Graduated March, April, May. Graduated 3 months after losing her brother. So you got to do finals and all this stuff,
oh,
and you
man.
just lost your oldest brother. All
Mhm.
that trauma. I had two kids to graduate. I have a son and a daughter, same age, and they both graduated college after losing, suffering a loss. And that tore me up because I don't see how they was able to do it. That was
Yeah.
stressful for them.
Yeah, no, I always say that, man, in terms of just like, you lose people, but then like you just have to kind of find ways to continue on. And even speaking
Yeah.
about your son, I guess that was 3 years later after the incident with your daughter, where your son passed away due to overdose. And you got your new memoir, Outside Show, which talks about addiction, mental health, grief. There you go. Everybody definitely check that out, and you talk about those things there. Can you take us back to that moment where you found out that your son passed away? Can you able to tell us where you were and just what those feelings were for you?
Yeah, I had to call my mom that morning, and I talk about this in the book. And if you really want to get more details, make sure you can go right now. You can pre-order anywhere where books are sold. Rickey Smiley's Sideshow. It's a page turner. You will not be able to put it down. But just one of the things I talked about in the book. I called my mom that Sunday morning and asked her have she talked to Brandon because we had not talked. And she called him. She called me right back. And she said, yeah, I talked to him. I'm going to pick him up. He's going to go to church. So they actually had a conversation. And so my phone rang. It was Brandon.
Mhm.
And I said, okay. Then I said, hey, how you doing? And it was his girlfriend. She was crying. And just that quick, he had OD'd and was rushed to the hospital. I got up, started getting dressed. I got me a flight, was headed out the door because I live downtown Dallas as well. I live right across the street from the Henry.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, that building, the Gables, that's where I live.
Okay.
So I'm trying to make it over here to Love Fair because Southwest had a flight that left at 10. So I got like a little over an hour to get on down there. And I got a phone call that he died. And I had to make it to the airport. Walking through the airport, people still speaking. Nobody had no idea that I'm getting home because my son had just died. Still speaking to people, still being nice, still being patient, still shaking hands. A couple wanted to take a picture, and I had to pull them close and just whisper to them what had happened. And they hugged me and just said, man, we're going to be praying for you, Rick. I said, just please understand. I said, it's just my mind ain't right now. And I had to get a security officer, Dallas police, to just actually point me to my gate and show me where to go because I was confused. And that
Yeah.
airport is just one way. That airport is gate 1 through gate 38 or whatever. And I couldn't even figure that out because I was so confused. Uh, but God let me make it home and I had to leave. I didn't really grieve my son's loss until 1 year later. It hit me 1 year later. I talked about that in the book, as well. I had to lead. I had to protect the rest of my kids. I had to protect my mother. I had to protect my son's daughter. I had to protect my grandson. Everybody that was around me that was affected by his death, even uncles, my uncles, my dad's brothers, was everybody was just tore up because that's a huge loss. My son, Brandon, was a comedian. Brandon was popular in the family. Brandon was like one of the oldest grandkids of my mama's grandchildren. So he was one of the people that everybody looked to for fun, for entertainment, where we going, what we going to do, what time we going to the movies. It was him. And that was a huge loss. And I had to lead like my granddaddy did when my dad died.
Mhm.
So I talk about there's way more details in the book. So make sure y'all pick up sideshow where books are ordered. And it's going to help you with your grief, living with loss and moving forward with faith. And I talk about how I had to totally lean on God just in order to make it. And I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, my man. Right when I get to sitting around the house crying, and I got some steps over there. That's my little that third step, step that I sit on when I want to just weep in this house by myself. I started thinking about the single mother in Chicago whose teenage son got killed. My son was 32. And I feel like it's a blessing because God gave me an extra 15 years when I know 15-year-olds getting killed. And I
Right.
just can't imagine the trauma of the mother that even didn't even get to see their kids graduate high school or see them into their adult years or left them with no grandkids. Single mother, and a lot of them don't even have the resources to even bury their kids and got to sit in a room and feel it all raw and uncut. You know what I'm saying? So it gives you a little bit of gratitude to knowing that just when you got it bad, that somebody else's situation is worse. I talk about all of that in the book, and if anybody went through any grief, this book is gonna definitely bless your life.
Yeah, and definitely sending my condolences your way and just
Thank you.
everything that you've been through. I definitely gonna check out the book as well. I lost my aunt in 2020, and that was like the first real like close family member that I had lost. And also around the time, like you said, the pandemic, like she was kind of alone. We weren't seeing her a lot because everybody's trying to stay to themselves. So like losing
Yeah.
her around that time was just crazy for me and my family, and still going through that process of grief. So I'm gonna definitely check it out. But I want to ask you, you said a lot there in terms of just like having to show up and be there for all of the other family members. How are you protecting yourself and your mental through this process?
Oh man, God in therapy.
Hmm.
Man, if you don't have a good pastor that's a great orator to put a good word in you, you know, Mama Braxton called me. I remember my Mama Braxton giving me strength and a word on my way to my son's funeral. She had lost her daughter. You know, I remember being on the phone with Portia Williams calling and say, hey man, just let you know that I'm praying. All that little stuff helped. Being in the airport in Atlanta, walking through the airport and people just hugging you, not even saying a word, just gave you a tight,
Right.
intimate, loving, thoughtful hug. And they kind of look at you, and some of them probably lost kids themselves, don't even want to talk. Like some people just hug you and just don't talk. They let you know right there that they probably going through the same thing you went through. Like they'll whisper, I understand.
Yeah.
You know, God just put walking through that Atlanta Hartsfield Airport. Uh, there was a lot of healing from when the TSA agent come around and hug you, and the ticket agent come around and hug you, and you just going about your day, just trying to go and perform, you know, because the bills don't stop coming. You still got to work, still got to perform. It's good therapy to just get to moving around. But the other thing that helped me was God. And then the other thing was therapy.
Mhm.
Man, I was getting therapy twice a week. And I'm talking about getting it, pouring out, pouring my heart, what am I feeling? And my therapy started with me losing a dad. That's something that I hadn't even dealt with. You
Mhm.
know, I'm just now getting in a phase of therapy where I'm able to talk about my loss to Brandon. Hell, I done spent this last year talking about my dad and,
Mm.
and the trauma of sitting on the front row, watching my grandparents cry like that and how it has traumatized me for life. That's why I sat there with a smile on my face at my son's funeral. Did not cry one time because my granddaughter was looking at me and she
Mhm.
was watching me. And I don't want her to remember her papa over here crying like I remember my grandparents, how
Mhm.
hard they took my dad funeral. Because my dad was the oldest son also,
Okay.
you know. So, but I just never, it's just the way I connect losing my dad and then losing my son, the way
Yeah.
I connected in the similarities. I break it down in the book. Is one that you have to read, and it tells my story, but it's scripture based and quote based, and it's going to bless your life the way it was all put together. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely grateful for that.
No, and I want to ask you, you kind of mentioned this, but like that connection between your dad and your son, because your dad also suffered from addiction as well. And I think I read one time that you said something like you hope that you would spare your kids because those diseases are hereditary. So like, how does that make you feel that your dad suffered from addiction and also your son suffered from addiction? And what do you think can we do as a Black community to kind of help with those things and get better?
Well, one thing in the Black community, we have to have conversations about it. We don't talk about stuff until it happens.
Mhm.
These are some uncomfortable conversations that nobody have to have. We don't want to talk about insurance, what happens just in case somebody dies, because we don't want to believe that nobody's going to die. We just have to have those uncomfortable conversations to try to prevent. That's what my grandfather had with me. He had uncomfortable conversations almost every day about drug and alcohol. And I'm 56 and I don't drink or smoke and
Yeah,
never have. You
never have.
know, and some of this stuff I might be hereditary, but sometimes, man, our young people make bad decisions.
Mhm.
Sometimes when mom and dad says go left, somebody decide to go right and they end up in a bad situation.
Mhm.
And that's why you have to go back to your scriptures. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the land the Lord thy God giveth thee. Now, when it say honor your mother, just because you don't smoke in front of your parents,
Right.
you honor your mother by not smoking when your parents not around.
Mhm.
You understand what I'm saying? It's consequences to these actions. And then what our young people need to understand, when you go out and make bad decisions, how are they going to make your mama feel that she got to sit by herself on the front row with a casket in front of her?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? At that point, it ain't even about you. What about your mother? How much do you love your mother not to do this to her?
Yeah.
You understand that that's real deep, and I'm just being honest or whatever. We got to get into better decision making, with our young people. But you know, we have to have uncomfortable conversations, whether they want to hear it or not. Put it in them. Make sure it's in their DNA. Don't
Mhm.
do this. Don't do that. Say it.
Yeah.
Yes, it might ruin that. Yes, it might kill the light moment in or whatever. But say it
Yeah. And I
because
think those conversations need to continue, not just when we're kids, right? Those conversations need to continue. Those uncomfortable conversations need to continue as we're adults because, we all continue to go through things and, have things happen. So I agree, uncomfortable conversations is where it starts. And again, part of the reason we started this platform is to have those vulnerable conversations amongst ourselves as men. So no, I appreciate you for sharing that. And I'm curious to know, in terms of just your grieving process, do you parent differently after losing your son? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, my anxiety is like through the roof. I worry a lot more. Like when my daughter leaves to drive back to Atlanta, like I'm having real anxiety. I just need you to call me, let me know that you made it safe.
Mhm.
I think about my nephew and my nieces and nephews, my other kids. I worry more.
Mhm.
Like I might text like you good a lot more than I did.
Mhm.
Not trying
Does
to
it annoy
control.
them or they kind of get it? Do they understand or
Yeah,
they?
they get it.
Mhm.
They get it. My son is like, oh yeah, I can get, I get it because you just worry because you just don't want nothing else to happen to any other your kids. I don't even know if I could live through nothing like that again. I don't even know how I survived that
Mhm.
or whatever, because there was moments in that where I wish I was dead myself because the pain was unbearable.
Yeah.
So and the thing about it is, man, this book coming out, and you having these conversations, and it opens you up, and you be all right doing the interview, but boy, after that interview, man, open it like peeling the
Mhm.
scab off
Yeah.
or whatever. And so I'm just gonna have to get used to, interviews and settings like this. And don't think you didn't do nothing wrong. You're doing your job, and I'm happy to be on here.
Okay.
But it's good to talk about it, and if it make me cry, that's because I need to cry. Because when you don't cry, that's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
So crying is like turning the steam cap off of a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
like releasing the steam, because if you don't, you explode. So I'm
Yeah.
grateful for this conversation.
No, I appreciate you opening up. And even to that point, I don't know if you saw across the internet, I think that was yesterday or a day or two ago, where Tyrese had this whole clip about black men cry and why it's important for us to cry. And he was like crying on the Breakfast Club and things of that nature. And I agree. I feel like, it's important for us to get it out too. As men, we're taught to, man up and, not really express ourselves, but we need to express those emotions as men and have safe spaces to do so. So I appreciate you for being transparent. And I want to know, like, obviously we talked about you as a father and the joys and the hurdles and the traumatic experiences that you went through. But I'm curious to know, like, who is Rickey Smiley as a grandfather? Because you have two grandchildren, right? Two?
Yeah.
Okay. What does Rickey Smiley as a grandfather look like?
A lot more lenient. I shouldn't be. A lot more playful, a lot more patient. You know, man, my kids be like, "You didn't let us do stuff like that," or whatever. But I find myself outside a lot more, playing with them a lot more. I probably spend more time with the grandkids than I did the kids, because I don't work as much. I don't let book every weekend anymore. Like tomorrow, Friday, when they get out of school, I guess we're gonna go swimming, go back there. I got a trampoline over there. I got a little park over there. We're gonna do all of that little stuff. I got a swing set right here. I got a little garden right here. We're gonna go pick some tomatoes tomorrow. Little stuff like that. I'm just a little different on that. Kind of like at home a lot more. Um, in the summer, we'll go to Florida or whatever, rent a boat or something out on the ocean, playing soft rock, listening to Elton John, Billy Joel, Steely Dan, the Eagles. I'm just a lot more chill. But that ripping and running from comedy club to comedy club, now, especially not in the summer. So I'm around a lot.
No,
Like
that's
I got a roast outside right now, unthawing, so I can make a roast and some potatoes and carrots and some cornbread, like stuff like that. Just
yeah.
yeah, I'm really into that. Like I'll cook all day. I enjoy
Yeah, I heard
getting in the kitchen.
you're a chef pretty much.
Oh man, I get down. I get down, bro. Like we have some good eating over here, so they enjoy that.
Do your kids, did they pick up on those cooking habits from you? Do your children, they also cook, or they just they pulling up on you for all the good meals?
Yeah, they'll pull up on me and empty my refrigerator and freezer, man, and I'll have to cook stuff for them to take back. But I don't know why they didn't catch up on the cooking. Maybe they'll do it when they older. Uh, my youngest daughter be cooking little stuff like asparagus and avocado, some mess that I ain't gonna let her cook over here. Over here,
Yeah.
we need some pinto beans. We need some okra. We need some, they ain't really doing no cooking. They can clean the hell out of the kitchen now. They'll clean up a kitchen. Kitchen be looking like a brand new restaurant on opening day one, but they don't take it serious.
I got you, man. I enjoy cooking as well. And I want to ask you something based on what you said a few minutes ago in terms of your therapy journey, right? You said,
Mhm.
it took you kind of a year for it to hit you about Brandon's passing and being able to unpack that. But you said now you find yourself talking more about your father who passed away when you were 6 years old. What have you uncovered just in that unpacking about your dad who passed away when you were 6? Is there anything that you see like that you learned just from unpacking the passing of your father that kind of like, unpacking those childhood traumas that you learned from or that you gain experience from in terms of like just talking about that in therapy?
Well, one of the things that I learned was what my what my granddaddy went through. What my granddaddy went through and what he felt. When I looked down, I remember looking to my left down at that front row, man. That rips me up harder than my son's death. Watching my grandparents cry like that, man. That have tore me up.
Mhm.
For 50 years, I've
Mhm.
cried every single other month about that alone. And
Mhm.
I knew what my grandfather was feeling. I knew why he was up, walking around, shaking people's hand, thanking people for coming. I'm like, how can you do all that and you just lost your son? Like,
Mhm.
I know I lost a dad, but I'm really feeling bad for my granddaddy over here.
Right. Mhm.
It was a lot of similarities,
Mhm.
but I just really learned how he felt and what he was dealing with and what he was going through. Um, I don't understand. I think one of the questions that I have is, if that addiction was not passed out to me, and I know why it wasn't passed out to me, because my grandfather talked to me all the time about drugs and alcohol, and I had made a conscious decision not to do it. I'm not them to do nothing. They can call me lame, they can call me weak, whatever they want to call me, I'm not doing it. Because I saw what they had went through. And then sometimes I think about what did I miss? Because I talk to my kids all the time about all of this, you know. And I don't know what went wrong or how it went wrong. It ain't my fault, because I spoke to my son about this when he was growing up and talked about it all the time. I talked to all of my kids uh, about, I forgot what your question was.
No,
Sometimes I be doing like Donald Trump, be rambling my
no, you good, man. And to that point, like, you did your job as a father to talk to your children about it, but as adults, sometimes, like you said, we're going to kind of take our own journey. So, I
Yep.
commend you for just, being a father who wasn't scared of having those uncomfortable conversations, and I'm sure that came from your granddad having those uncomfortable conversations, with you. So I appreciate you for opening up about that. And obviously, people can read more in the book about your grieving process and things of that nature. But before we get out of here today, we normally do this thing, man. Our platform is called Dear Fathers. This is the Dear Fathers podcast, right? So we normally do this hypothetical letter to your father, starting with Dear Father. But what I want to do today, just to celebrate your son, in a sense, if you could write a short hypothetical letter to your son, starting with Dear Son, what would you say to Brandon?
Man, you finna get me crying on here. I would say, dear son, I'm sorry you went through this. I'm sorry that you had a rough 2 years before you passed away. I'm sorry you didn't get to spend time with your daughter before you passed. I wish you were here to tell me where did I go wrong, or if I went wrong. I already know what you would say. You would say, "No, Dad, it's my fault. You did everything right." Got so many videos of him saying that um, uh, that I love you. I always have loved you, and I miss my twin, and I hope to be reconnected with you when my time here on this earth is done. So I would definitely say it to him.
I appreciate you for sharing it again, sending my condolences to the loss of your son. And I just appreciate you so much for sharing this safe space with us and having this conversation about, your journey, who you are as a father, and just everything you've been through, man. Like, like you said, grieving has its, everybody grieves differently. And I know you open up more about that in your book. So could you tell people more about your book and when it's coming out? I know we can pre-order now, but tell people more about your book, when it's coming out, and then also just what's next for you in general.
Yeah, I got a comedy special coming out. We don't know if it's going to be Netflix or one of those outlets. That's coming out probably around December, something like that. This book comes out September the 17th. You can pre-order. The last chapter of this book is really going to blow your mind. And it's going to give you a lot of hope, because remember, everything that we go through is a test, but it don't feel like a test when we're going through it. We know this information. Your pastor preacher says it's only a test, but when you're going through the worst time of your life, you don't realize that you're actually going to the test. And we got to always remember that God is looking at us when we're going through the test and watching how are we handling the situation. And if you can't handle this, then you're not ready to go to the next level. So that's why you got to really stay in that word and just stay close to God and know that that he will protect you. And the God that we serve, man, is awesome. A lot of people don't even survive their kids' death. They die themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just blessed to be alive. And I just hope that this help a lot of people. This will help a lot of people, and give you a lot of hope, love, and inspiration with the story. Anywhere books are sold, you can go and order now. It's called Side. You know where I got the type of sideshow from?
Yeah, why a sideshow?
It's a song your parents probably know. It's called Let the Side. That song, Let the Sideshow Begin.
Hmm.
Hurry, hurry, step right on in.
Mhm.
Can't afford to pass it by.
Okay.
Guaranteed to
Okay.
make you cry. It's about a clown
Mhm.
that's up there performing, making people laugh while he's sad on the inside.
Mhm.
So that's where the topic sideshow come from. You performing, you got all these people laughing. You got people laughing on the radio, got them laughing while you're on stage, but on the inside, you suffered a loss
Mhm.
and you crying on the inside like a sad clown. You know what
No,
I'm saying? So,
that's deep.
uh, yeah, it's real deep. And if you listen to the song and listen to the lyrics of the song, that's deep within itself. So, uh, but I'm working on that comedy special. It's already been filmed. We edit and getting it ready to present to Netflix or whatever. I think it'll end up on Netflix, whatever. Um, and this book comes out September the 17th. I got some comedy dates here and there or whatever, but I'm going on a major book tour. So I will
Mhm.
be coming to a city near you. In Dallas, I'm gonna be at Friendship West. That's my church.
You know what date?
I don't know the exact date, but I'm definitely coming to Friendship West.
Okay.
Pastor Haynes is my pastor
Okay.
in Dallas, Texas. You know, my job is right behind the
Mhm.
Galleria. That's where the
Yep.
radio station is.
Hmm.
So I'm excited about coming to Dallas and going up to Oklahoma and then on over to
Hmm.
Kentucky and Ohio. I'm going all over the country to do a book tour to promote Sideshow. So if
Okay.
you know anybody that's suffered a loss and they want to get some inspirational word and some help, make sure you order this book now. And I have the audio version. If you want to hear my raspy voice, you can get the audio.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you for joining the Dear Fathers podcast. Thanks everybody for watching slash listening. Feel free to follow us on Instagram at Dear Fathers and stay tuned for the next episode. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, homie.